Hey everybody, this is Olga with AskYourSoul.org, and today I felt inspired to talk about inspired action. And basically I just wanted to discuss how this inspired action stuff works, in my opinion, and from my experience, because I feel like there's a lot of confusion about that. Because on the one hand side, you are always told that all you have to do is just imagine the perfect outcome, assume the wish fulfilled. And this is what conscious manifesting is all about. Just trusting the universe that once you have done some kind of a technique or a method that feels comfortable for you, then you let it go and await for the universe's response. So I feel like that's mostly true, but there's also this thin line between allowing for something to come into your life and actually doing something to attract it. So this is what I feel is so confusing to a lot of people, because some people think that if you just literally, if you just work on your self-concept and affirming and mental diet and imaginal acts, if that's something that you feel comfortable doing, then that's it. You completely let it go and just let it come to you. So here's the thing. I feel like it's always kind of interconnected. The part where you are sending out the signal to the universe, asking, or telling it rather, what you want, what you expect, and how you would like for things to be, right? And then you get some kind of a feedback from the universe. Sometimes you literally do manifest things into your life. For example, especially if it's something basic, like manifesting a cup of Starbucks coffee, right? Or something like that. Or in my case, I really like guacamole, and I can't even tell you how many times I have manifested free guac, And there's literally, you don't even have to do anything for that to come into your life. It just does. And it's awesome when that happens, but I just want to say that that's not always the case. So you have to be very open-minded in terms of, okay, now that I have put out the signal to the universe, out to the universe, what is my responsibility? What do I have to do? Or do I have to do anything? And I just feel like, I guess the biggest message here is that it's not a forceful action that you have to do that feels, full of effort and takes a lot of time, and you're just kind of like, oh my God. Especially if you're new to manifesting, just think about how you have done things in the past. For example, if I was looking for a job in the past, I would look through a million job ads, right? And I would pick out which ones I felt were more or less resonating with me. And then I would write up a cover letter for each specific one and then send out the resume. Just all this, work, actual work that felt very full of effort and took a lot of time. And then when I really got into manifesting and I was experimenting with this stuff, I literally just started putting out the signal to the universe that thank you so much for this awesome job that I really enjoy. I didn't even want to make it very specific. So the jury's still out, I feel like. Some people say that you do have to be super specific. And if you know exactly what you want, that's what you should do. You should be specific. But if you're not sure, in my case, I was like, is there even a job that I would actually like other than working for myself, literally doing the stuff that I'm doing right now? So I just focused on how it would feel to have a job that I really enjoy and I like. Or in terms of a relationship and a SPE, focusing on what it would feel like to be with this person that you really enjoy being with, And so to just expand on the whole job situation, once I started doing that, these interesting opportunities started to come my way, right? And they literally came my way from out of nowhere, from just my friends saying, hey, I have this person that I used to work with, or I'm currently working with, and they're currently looking for this and that. Would you be interested? And I'm like, yes. And they're like, okay, here you go. Here's the email. Just send them your resume. And sometimes I didn't even have to send a resume. One of the jobs I got, I literally got from going to a workshop. You know what I mean? And just talking to the speaker after the workshop. I mean, it was just like this crazy, interesting situation where I would have never in a million years expected anything to even come from that. So I feel like more than anything, you just have to be like, once you do the things that you're supposed to do to manifest, and you send out the signal basically to the universe of what you want, then you just have to stay open to whatever comes your way. And it doesn't mean that you have to accept everything, right? It doesn't mean that just the first thing that is sent back to you or proposed to you, you're like, oh, this is it. I mean, it's not perfect, but I'll take it because it's got to be it, right? No, like this is where you have to kind of be brave enough to be picky, because if you're not, then you probably know how it's going to end. It's probably not going to end that well. It's still a good experience regardless. I feel like every experience that we have in our lives, even if it's a really shitty one, there's something to be learned from it, so it can be utilized, regardless. But if you don't want to waste your time and you feel like this is not the right opportunity for you, then don't do it. Like, trust enough the universe or God or whatever you want to call it, the higher power, that it's going to deliver what you want. But if you're comfortable taking what it gives you and you're like, okay, maybe this is not perfect, but I still want to give it a chance. Like, I'll check it out. Definitely do that, because you also never know where this opportunity is going to take you, and who you're going to meet, or like other opportunities that can stem from that one. You just truly never know. So if it feels comfortable enough for you to pursue and not like it doesn't have this like heavy feeling of like, oh my God, again, like a job that you would dread, then definitely give it a chance, and just see what happens. And plus, when you do that, you kind of let go of other expectations, and that's when usually stuff starts happening even faster and things start coming your way even faster anyway. So there is still some action on your part that would have to be taken, okay? Like, even if it's just saying yes to something, you're still doing something. You're still accepting an offer, let's say. Or with an SP, you're still giving that person a chance and like hearing them out and going on a date or whatever. So that still can be considered action, but it's not this dreadful, all-consuming, boring thing where you're literally feeling like you're going against the flow of life. Like you have to try super hard and apply to every job that you can possibly apply to, because maybe somehow after like a million applications, there's going to be one that's going to finally work and they will reply to you. But then usually what happens is that you realize that that's not even the job that you wanted in the first place. So you still have to be somewhat picky and trust that the universe has something better for you in store. And just remember that this universe is so freaking abundant. And there are so many opportunities. They're limitless. Literally. I just feel like sometimes we kind of get stuck in this way of thinking that, nope, this is like as good as it gets for me, apparently. It's almost like this victimhood where you're like, well, if I am to make money, then it has to be this boring job that I don't enjoy. And that's not the case at all. Sometimes there's just a lot of resistance to manifesting something that you actually want. But it doesn't mean that it's impossible. You know what I mean? It's still very possible. And the most action that is required on your part is to keep being persistent when it comes to actually manifesting, especially imaginal acts. My favorite is the SATS technique, where you do it right before you're falling asleep. It just feels so natural and easy, and you get used to doing it, and it just gets easier and easier after a while. But if imagining is not something that you're comfortable with, if you're like more of an audio person or whatever, you can always customize it to your own needs. You can imagine a congratulatory conversation, for example, which is another awesome technique, where you literally just imagine someone that you love and trust congratulating you, like you're sharing the news with them, let's say over the phone or over a text message, and you're saying, dude, can you imagine, like, I just got this or I did this? And you imagine them saying back, holy crap, good job. That's amazing. How did that happen? Or just whatever feels natural to you. And then once that manifestation actually comes into your life, all you have to do is be open to it and trust it and just go with the flow. So if that feels like action, I'm sure it doesn't. That's why they call it inspired action, right? It's kind of like you want to do it. It doesn't feel like a drag, basically. So, for example, I just felt one day like creating jewelry, like a bracelet, right? And I was like, I wonder how you would do that. And so like I YouTubed it and I was like, oh, this is cool. So I bought some tools and some things that I needed to do that. And now I have this Etsy shop with a whole bunch of bracelets and necklaces, and I'm going to include the link below, by the way. Shameless self-promotion up in here. But yeah, so it's just something that like felt like a really fun thing to do. And even if I don't sell it, I really enjoy making it to give it to my friends for their birthdays and just stuff like that. It's just very interesting. And the cool thing is, like, once I started doing this whole jewelry thing, I, for some reason, really got into printable products. I was just like, wow, this looks so cool. I just literally had this video recommendation on YouTube where this girl was talking about printable products and how fun they are to design and how popular they are. And I was like, holy crap, I want to try this, even though I'm not like a designer or anything. But I really wanted to see what it would be like. And so I took inspired action and I researched it. I figured out a few different ways of making those and also put them up on Etsy. And it was just a really fun, interesting process that, yes, it required some time on my part and effort, of course. But at the same time, it didn't feel like this boring, annoying thing that I did not want to do and I was making myself do. So that's the biggest difference between just taking action and taking inspired action that you actually want to take. And I'm sure you've had this experience too before where you're like, oh, I want to try this out. Or with music, for example, when I just felt like I had to record songs. Like, it's just a part of my creative nature. I just have to do this stuff to feel like I exist, you know? And here's another interesting side note, though. Here's what I noticed. Sometimes you put in all this effort into something and you don't see immediate results. And it can be very disheartening and disappointing if you had those expectations. So this is kind of like why it's important to not have huge expectations and to just go with the flow and see what happens, you know, especially if it doesn't require a lot of, let's say, sacrifice on your part and you're just doing it for the fun of it, like a fun hobby, okay? And you're just like, okay, this is just fun for me to do. And when people ask you, like, why are you doing it? You're like, what do you mean? It's just fun, you know? You don't have a specific goal or whatever. That's the best way to do it, because as soon as you start expecting stuff, there's all this resistance that comes up, all these old beliefs, self-doubt, all this other stuff that just makes things less likely to come true, especially in the time frame that you want. Which, as you know, time frames are not great when it comes to manifesting anyway. So here's something I just also wanted to bring up as an interesting side note that I noticed. For example, when I was working on my songs and my album back in 2010, which feels like forever ago, I just had this determination to record these songs, to do it the best possible way. I was like, I'm going to become a professional singer. That's it. Nothing can ever stop me. And I was just constantly recording, writing, just doing all this stuff while having a full-time job that I really hated, by the way. And you know, this felt like an escape for me. I was like, screw this job. I'm going to really put all of my effort into recording these songs and something has got to work out. And this is back when I kind of sort of knew about conscious manifesting, but clearly not enough to actually do it and to know what I'm doing. So I feel like back when I was doing that, I had too much of an expectation. I was just kind of crazy about this idea about making it work. And suffice it to say, it did not exactly work out the way that I wanted for it to. And it felt like a big-ass failure, personally, to me, because I was like, well, nobody gives a shit about my songs. Nobody wants them. You know, it just felt like a complete waste of time on the one hand side. But on the other, I was like, well, I really wanted to do it. And I'm really happy that I did, because now I have these songs and they're like out there in the universe forever for my kids to listen to. I don't know, like it just felt like a really cool thing to still experience, you know? It was a really interesting experience too. And here's the interesting side note that I wanted to talk about. Sometimes you put a lot of effort into something specific in one area of your life, but you receive a lot of feedback from like a totally different part of your life, a totally different thing that you maybe wanted, or maybe you didn't even expect, but you just start receiving the stuff. And it's very interesting how that energy exchange works, because in my case, I really honestly feel like my music is basically how me and my husband got together. And it just makes no sense, really. But here I was kind of expecting this feedback on my music from the universe, and I was hoping to be a recording artist, a vocalist, and like just really make it my job to record music, right? But when that didn't happen, and I've actually discussed this story before, like a while back, I don't even remember which video that was. But basically what happened was that my husband saw my YouTube channel, my other YouTube channel, which I'll link below if you're curious to check it out. So he saw me like singing a cover song. It wasn't even my song, which is so funny, right? Like it wasn't even my song. I was singing this cover song of a band that he liked, and he really liked it, and he wanted to just get in touch with me and just to encourage me to keep going, just out of nowhere. And just so you know, this guy never, ever reaches out online to anybody ever. And it's just so interesting. Like, he doesn't have any social accounts. He doesn't do the whole online thing, you know? So here's what's interesting about this whole situation. And I'll discuss this again on this video. And I'm sorry, like, if I'm repeating myself from the other video that I did, but I feel like I made it like so long ago. So most people probably haven't seen it. So he wanted to reach out to me, but he hates online stuff so much that he's not even registered on YouTube. And the only way that he was able to reach out to me was through my music website, which the only reason why I created my music website was to put out my music that I recorded, that I was just telling you about, okay? That's the only way that he could get in touch with me. And he just wrote to me through my contact form on my music website. And he just wrote me this really nice, supportive, encouraging email. And after that, we kind of developed this friendship. I wasn't expecting anything. And he, even now, like he tells me, he's like, I swear it's not like, I really wasn't expecting anything. I knew that you're living in another country, because he was living in Moscow. I was living in the US. And he's like, I just wanted to like give you the support. That's it. Which was so sweet of him, you know, and I really wish he would do more of that now that we've been together for a while, but I'm working on it through my manifesting. Yeah, so that's how it all happened, and we developed this friendship over the years to come. So at the time, I didn't even think anything of it. It was still nice to receive that email, of course, but, you know, like it didn't feel like it was doing anything in terms of my music or anything else, basically, right? And so now looking at it over 10, 11 years later, all of a sudden this big picture emerges where if I hadn't recorded my music, if I hadn't put it up on my website, and I didn't have this website, he would not have reached out to me. I literally talked to him about that stuff. I was like, if I didn't have this website, would you register with the YouTube and reach out to me via YouTube? And he's like, probably not. And I was like, holy shit. So it's just very interesting how those things worked out, because of course I was also looking for an SP, right? I always wanted to be married and all this stuff. And I just never, ever expected it to come this way. Through my music, basically. So even though it didn't, quote unquote, work out with my music the way that I had imagined it to, it still worked out in a pretty major way, because that's how I met my husband, and now we have 2 children, and we're in it for the long haul, you know? So not to say that it's an easy relationship by any means, but I'm definitely working on it, and it's like I can really tell that it's improving constantly. So that's really what matters to me. And yeah, so like I just wanted to tell you that sometimes when you put in a lot of effort into one stream of whatever it is that you're doing, you might be receiving something completely different, like in a different area of your life that you still really wanted, but it's just like this energetic exchange from the universe that you receive. So like, I just want you to be open to that and not to get discouraged if you're not receiving this feedback right away, if you're not receiving what you felt would be fair or what you expected to receive right away. Don't get hung up on that. Just trust the fact that if you're putting in a lot of energy into something and it's through inspired action that you actually wanted to do, you will absolutely receive some kind of a feedback, even if it's in a different area of your life. Anyway, so to wrap this all up, I just wanted to say that inspired action is still pretty valid when it comes to consciously manifesting. There's still something that you'll have to do, but I don't even want to say you have to do it because you're gonna want to do it. And that's what makes it different from just going against the grain and like just taking action, where you're like, oh, I have to do this because I've been told all of my life that the only way to get a job is through applying to a million different websites and going to these interviews and yada, yada, yada. Just stay open to the fact that there might be a completely different alternative route that you will be able to take that will not require so much crap, So, and if you have any cool stories to that end, I would love to hear them in the comment section. Also, if you have any questions, please feel free to put them down below, and maybe I'll even do videos in the future addressing those questions. And other than that, just keep going, whatever it is that you're doing, whatever it is you feel inspired and excited to do. Keep doing it, no matter how small it is or how seemingly insignificant. Just trust the fact that there's a reason why you have this like urge to do something. And know that there's always going to be this energy exchange of some kind. Either it's going to be exactly what you wanted or something even better, or it's going to be in a different area of your life, but it's also going to be awesome and it's going to be something that you still wanted. You just didn't realize that you could get it through this avenue, And I guess that concludes this particular episode of Conscious Manifesting 101 by Olga B. with askyoursoul.org. Okay, that just sounded so weird. I'm sorry. Like, I just do that sometimes, and then I'm like, why? Did I just do that? Oh, all right, you guys, have an amazing day or night. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed this. And if you did, I would really appreciate your support through, liking this video or subscribing or both, or even going to my Etsy account and checking it out. But no pressure. And again, thank you so much for listening this far. I really, really appreciate it. It means a lot to me. And I'm wishing you all the best. And I know you have what it takes to be the master manifester in your life and to making this life experience a really awesome one. Let's do this shit. You know what I'm saying? Okay. So yeah, I'm going to go now. Thanks so much, you guys. Have a good one. Bye.